We begin today's wrestling news and rumors video with some interesting backstage news regarding Vince McMahon's match against Pat McAfee at WrestleMania 38. As most of you are likely well aware, heading into WrestleMania 38 season, there were a few rumors or rumblings going around that Vince McMahon was considering stepping into the squared circle again and competing in a match, with it originally speculated that Vince McMahon was going to challenge Pat McAfee to a match at the showcase of the Immortals after appearing on Pat's show, but it was later revealed to be Austin Theory, Vince's young protege, who is going to be facing off against Pat McAfee. However, in typical Vince McMahon surprising fashion, the boss man ended up shocking fans by deciding to wrestle after Austin Theory lost to Pat McAfee, with Vince picking up a win over the SmackDown commentator, and then proceeding to create a truly iconic, memorable WrestleMania moment by taking one of the worst stunners of all time from Stone Cold Steve Austin. While a lot of fans were thoroughly entertained by Vince McMahon's in-ring involvement at WrestleMania, some recent interesting backstage news has indicated that many within WWE were not nearly as excited for Vince's return. According to one of our sources, Fightful Select, apparently many within WWE, namely some people who are reportedly close to Vince McMahon and some working in creative, felt like Vince coming back to wrestle again was a terrible idea. With that being said, apparently Vince felt like as long as fans were entertained by his return, then it was okay and essentially a good idea, with Vince himself allegedly knowing that his performance at WrestleMania was quite terrible. Judging by fans' reactions on social media, most seem happy with Vince McMahon's in-ring return and antics at WrestleMania, mainly because we got one of the funniest stunners of all time, with McMahon completely botching the move, and that overall it was quite an entertaining segment or angle, even if the in-ring performance was not that great, which really should not be expected at this point to begin with. Speaking of the young protege of Vince McMahon, Austin Theory, Austin was recently interviewed, and among the subjects that were brought up, one of them was quite noteworthy. Now, for those of you unaware, towards the end of last month, WWE legend Randy Orton basically stated in an interview with Pat McAfee that he feels many talent coming up from NXT have no clue what they're doing, and that they are not very safe to work with, and that many of these talent in NXT aren't necessarily taught how to protect their opponents. Here's what Austin Theory, a former NXT talent himself, had to say regarding Randy Orton believing many NXT prospects are not the safest to work with. Quote, "So Randy Orton is somebody that has a huge legacy here. He is well respected. He knows what he's doing. He knows what he's talking about. I don't personally think that's directed to everyone. There's reasons for him saying that, and he has a right to his word. I personally have a great relationship with Randy. He is somebody that if you want advice or you want to watch something, he will take a look at it, he will give you good advice. He won't sugarcoat it. To me, it's one of those things that you hear about, but you've got to know where it's coming from." Now let us know your thoughts firstly on Randy Orton stating that he feels many of the NXT talent he's worked with recently are not the safest in the ring or have lost the art of professional wrestling, with the biggest priority of that being protecting your opponent. And do you feel that Austin Theory's right by saying that Randy had reasons for saying that about some of the talent coming up from NXT? Or is Randy Orton perhaps making a bit of a blanket statement that the younger generation stars from NXT are not protecting their opponents well enough, and that it may just be a few former NXT talent who are not doing their job properly that Randy's encountered, and that most are safe to work with? Let us know. Now, as most of you are well aware, the idea of Vince McMahon deciding to sell WWE has really been one of the biggest topics discussed among wrestling fans over the last year or so, with there being multiple rumors over the last few months regarding a potential sale of WWE in the near future, or that Vince was essentially getting ready to hand over the reins of WWE to another major network or company, with the enormous number of releases from WWE last year being one of the main reasons as to why fans are speculating that WWE could be put up for sale sooner rather than later, with WWE wanting to save money and maximize profits, making their business or company look much better and profitable on paper to potential buyers. These rumors and overall speculation from fans was further compounded when it seemed like Shane McMahon left WWE from a backstage capacity earlier this year, and Triple H seemingly being demoted behind the scenes as well, with Triple H no longer running NXT, and the brand that he created and developed was completely changed by Vince McMahon and Bruce Prichard to NXT 2.0 while he was away. Now more fuel has been added to these rumors recently about WWE possibly being sold soon, because if you hadn't known, CNBC recently talked a bit about the idea of Disney possibly buying the WWE and Formula 1. Here's what CNBC had to say regarding this possibility. Quote, "While Disney balked at UFC's image, it's easy to envision WWE or Formula 1 branded roller coasters and theme park rides for media companies that own them. Although some fans may not be the biggest fans of the idea of Disney buying out WWE, with some fans going as far to say that WWE would likely be changed in a negative way if Disney was to take over WWE from Vince McMahon. WWE would definitely still be a worthwhile and profitable company for Disney to buy, especially in this day and age of streaming. So the possible scenario of Disney eventually owning WWE is really not that far-fetched in all honesty. However, Vince McMahon certainly does not seem as though he is willing to let go of WWE anytime soon, and McMahon still appears to be adamant about running the WWE and running it his way. Hence why Vince is still very much in control of a lot of the big aspects of WWE despite his age, and even many smaller aspects of WWE like the creative. With that being said, let us know your thoughts on Disney possibly buying WWE in the near future should Vince McMahon decide to sell off the company, which again may seem unlikely, but with WWE President Nick Khan recently stating that WWE's open for business, really anything is possible nowadays, and lots of fans do feel as though we are headed in the direction of WWE being sold off to a conglomerate company like Disney soon. Now whether that's a good or bad thing is a bit debatable. As some of you are likely aware, it was revealed back in late February 2022 that Monday Night Raw commentator Corey Graves has been medically cleared to return to wrestle again in WWE, with these rumors officially being confirmed by Corey Graves himself at that time. And this news definitely excited lots of fans who were a bit upset that Corey Graves' in-ring career in WWE had to end so abruptly. While Corey Graves has really been doing well over the last few years with his commentary and analyst jobs in WWE, with many feeling as though Corey Graves is one of the better commentators in recent WWE history, there are still those who had hopes one day Corey Graves could return to wrestle again. Well, with Corey Graves officially being cleared to wrestle again, this news we're about to share with you guys was bound to come up at some point, because in a recent interview, Corey Graves teased a possible return match scenario that he's eyeing. Here's what Corey had to say on the matter. Quote, "Not to my knowledge was it ever discussed with any sense of legitimacy, but you've got to remember, there's only one night a year Raw and SmackDown competes in head-to-head competition, Survivor Series. I hope I'm going to start politicking now. I think McAfee and Graves at Survivor Series. I think we have to pass the bar that was set by Cole and Lawler at WrestleMania." Now it seems as though Corey Graves likes the sounds of a match against SmackDown commentator Pat McAfee at Survivor Series this year, and given Pat's great performance against Austin Theory at WrestleMania 38 this past weekend, many fans would likely be excited and happy to see Pat McAfee wrestle again for WWE, and to see Corey Graves get a big special comeback match. However, let us know if you guys would be excited to see Corey Graves return to wrestle again for WWE in the near future. And does a Pat McAfee match interest you, or should Corey Graves face off against someone else if he were to make that special comeback? Or in your opinion, should Corey remain retired and focus his time on his commentary and analyst work in WWE, which he has definitely been excelling at? Let us know.